Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Today, I got to tell you, I am just so blown away by our next guest. I have been familiarizing myself with her work these last couple of weeks, and it's so hard to describe what she does, but let me try. She's a contortionist, an aerialist. She's a YouTuber, a dancer, a singer. She's a huge internet personality. You might know her or have become aware of her from America's Got Talent. In 2016, she was on their 11th season, and she's appeared on multiple different iterations and seasons of America's Got Talent since. But her YouTube channel, it is my favorite YouTube channel out there right now. It has like 9.5 million subscribers, 1.6 billion views. I cannot wait to talk about everything involving how she got to where she is right now. But I also want to point out America's Got Talent on NBC, their 20th season, it is coming up, and they have in-person auditions January 12th in Pasadena. I'll put all that information in the show notes. So if you think you got I don't think you have any kind of talent like our guest does, but if you do, who knows? The one and only Sofie Dossi, welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Sofie, I gotta just tell you, I was, watching your YouTube, and you have this like 45-minute, beautifully edited. Like I was watching a TV show about your most recent stint on, America's Got Talent,
Yeah.
where it was just showing how you prep for these things and how you push yourself. And I was flabbergasted. But I want to remind people, the audience, if they don't know, the first time you were on America's Got Talent, how old were you?
I was 14 years old when I was first on, so it's been a while. I'm 23 years old now.
Okay, listen, I'm trying to describe like one of the acts that I was watching you do. You were literally contorting your body on these big like poles. You also had a bow and arrow that you were shooting. There were flames involved. You were hitting a target. I don't
Yeah.
even know how your imagination can get to this point. I guess we got to take it back to the beginning just
Yeah.
to let the audience know, how do you even get to the point as a 14-year-old like, oh, hey, this would be cool to do?
Yeah, well, I had a background in gymnastics. I was a competitive gymnast for 3 years from age 7 to 10. And my parents took me out of it. Actually, the irony of it is they took me out of it because it was getting too dangerous. Like some girls were just injuring themselves a lot. And so they're like, we're going to take you out. We don't want to do it. And I was obsessed with gymnastics. Like it was the love of my life. And so when I was taken out of it, I was upset, but I didn't really know where to go. So I went to dance, but I was missing the like scary stuff. Like it was for
So
me.
you liked the scary stuff. That drove you.
Yes, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love adrenaline, everything adrenaline. And so after a year of doing dance, I discovered a YouTube video of a contortionist. And I was like, I can put my feet over my head like she can. And I did it, and I was able to put my feet over my head just like her. And yeah, it really started just as a hobby at home when I was 12 years old. And the props I would see some of these circ artists have, it was the hand bouncing canes. Me and my dad went to Home Depot and bought the equipment to make it, and we made it at home, and everything was very homemade. I'd build all my equipment. And then when I was 13, one day I actually saw a really old photo of this contortionist. It was literally a black and white photo of this circ contortionist who was holding a bow and arrow with her feet. And it was a photo. And I was like, that would be cool to do. I really want to do that. And so I asked my dad, I was like, I want to do this. Can we go get a bow and arrow? He was like, sure, let's do it.
Your parents weren't like, let's get you back in gymnastics. Like that's actually safer. I love that they pulled you out of gymnastics because they were worried about the danger, and now they're at like Home Depot building things for you to actually like do contortion with a bow and arrow. That's insane. So you see this, you think it's cool, you think I can do that, and then you're an athlete. You have to train for these things because you can't just automatically do these things, or can you? Like how much, especially as you get older, how the body changes.
Yeah, well, I've always picked up on things really fast. And one thing I would do is I'd analyze videos, and I would figure out all their like tiny little techniques. And especially with hand bouncing, it's sometimes like an inch means you're falling, or an inch means you're holding. And so I'm a perfectionist, so, and I would always have my mindset on, okay, I can't leave my front room, because I would do all this in my front room. I can't leave my front room and go to bed until I get this trick.
Oh my
And so
God.
because I had that mindset, I was able to pick up on things a lot of, like, really fast. And yeah, and then I slowly even started doing crazier stuff. And now it's to the point though where the ideas that I have, my dad specifically will be like, why, this is dangerous. Why do you have to do it? But he'll always set things in place where there's safety to it now.
Yeah.
So I don't just go ahead and do it.
Well, I mean, you see these pictures, but do you have I know I have heroes in broadcasting and people that I look up to. Are there heroes in aerialist and contorting? Are there people that you're like, God, that's my hero right there?
Yeah, when I was younger, when I first started, there was this one hand bouncer girl. She doesn't do it anymore, but she was my hero. And actually, a year into it, my parents had surprised me for my birthday, and we went to see her in Vegas. And I got to talk to her, and I was freaking out. And it wasn't like she was like a big social media person or anything.
Yeah.
She actually, I don't even think she had a following. I just happened to stumble across like 2 of her performances, and I just thought they were incredible. But sadly, she doesn't do it anymore. But yeah, right now, there's not really anybody I see that, or like a specific person, but sometimes I'll come up with ideas by seeing other things, or like figuring out, oh, I saw this, maybe I put a twist onto it and put contortion into this, or things like that.
Well, okay, so I want to take it back to America's Got Talent. It's what, 2014, or was that 2016?
2016.
2016. You're 14 years old. How do you even get involved in like, hey, let's go audition for America's Got Talent. Let's see if we can actually do something with this. How does that work?
Well, actually, yeah, that one in particular, I guess I did a performance at one of my mom's friends, like it was her birthday or something, and I did a little at her house. I guess somebody there knew a producer at America's Got Talent. They were looking for different acts.
Yeah.
And with America's Got Talent, you can submit in videos and all that stuff. And I guess he had submitted a video of me there, and I was then reached out to. And I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll go on. I'll do it.
And how did that add? Like, so you're in there, and you took us through the process in your YouTube video that I was watching of, you do these rehearsals, before you act, you do it a couple of times before you actually do it for film. And it just seems so much more intense with the lighting and an audience and the judges. Like, you have the judges there, and you're an adrenaline junkie, but at the same time, as a 14-year-old woman, like, does that really like mess with your mind to another degree? Because that's different than you waiting to go to bed until you can hold a pose in your living room.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, America's Got Talent was one of the best experiences of my life. Definitely was very stressful because I wanted to make it through, and I wanted to show the best part of my acts and best part of my tricks.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that I was doing was very dangerous. And it was definitely very stressful, but that's why when I went on this past year for Fantasy League,
Yeah.
I really wanted to show what went on behind the scenes. And there was even more stuff that we didn't end up putting in the video because it just was so long. But
by you guys, that's why I recommend our YouTube channel, because I geek out about behind the scenes stuff. And I got to say, I love that your family's involved in all of this stuff too. Your brother, but this video like, if you're a geek for finding out how these things are put together, you will love her YouTube channel. Cause I felt like I was a fly on the wall getting to see, and your whole attitude, you were so cool, calm, and collected, like the way you handled everything. But sorry to interrupt, but like going back to that first time, that's the first time you're doing this.
Yeah. So the first time I was doing it, I also had very fresh eyes. A lot of it was scary because I was homeschooled my whole life. So I was very shy and reserved. And then all of a sudden being thrown onto a huge stage, I was like, this is scary. I was actually more scared of talking to the judges than I was doing the
Who were the judges back then for your first year?
It was Melby, Heidi, Howie, and it was Simon's first year on America's Got Talent. Yeah.
Who were you the most scared of at the time in terms of judges?
I was the most freaked out of Simon.
Yeah.
I think Simon, when I had like pulled my bow and arrow back and I was like moving it above and kind of past the judges, I remember seeing him duck, and I remember thinking, would not have done that.
No, Simon deserves to be a little scared. Simon deserves the fear. Well, I mean, you have that experience, and then you get through that first round, and I'm sure that calms your nerves a little bit. And does that just then drive you further that first season?
Yeah, that first season, I had the mindset with each round of I'm going to give my all for everything I could possibly do, everything I have in my pockets. So every time I'd make it through to the next round, I would be like, oh my God, what do I do? I have no idea. I gave it my all. So
do you have a team of people like where you're imagining these like, so you don't, this is all just coming from your imagination.
Yeah. So I came up with all my routines, all my ideas, all that stuff. So, I mean, one thing I like to do, and I know everybody comes up with things differently, but I like to put on a really dramatic music, like trailer type music. And I will close my eyes and sit down or lay down, and I will try to think of the most impossible tricks ever. And once I come up with these absolutely impossible tricks, I'll bring them up to my dad and I'll be like, hey, any way we'd be able to make this possible.
So you like reverse engineer it.
Yeah. So think of the impossible, and then you take a few steps back and be like, okay, how would this actually be possible? Or maybe it stays at the impossible idea.
Is there anything that you can share with us that's still so impossible that you guys have not found a way to take a couple steps back yet? There's got to be a list of things on the cutting room floor. Like, I mean, it just seems crazy because you keep topping yourself.
Yeah, there's one thing I've been trying to figure out how to do, but it's purely just because it's really hot. I really want to set my hand balancing canes on fire, but I've tried it before and it just gets so hot because you're right above the fire that I don't know how to do that where I won't like get way too hot.
Let's leave that. Let's leave that in the drafts for now. But until I figure out. So, but that first season though, like experiencing that, and then like, was there any particular critique from one of the judges that like, is it really like, did anybody really help you? Of like, okay, this is how to make it better. Did anybody really hurt you? Simon can hurt people a lot of the times. Heidi is very supportive usually. Mel B a little kooky. Like, what were the things that like you really took to heart that first season?
Actually, I got very positive feedback the whole time, which I actually was very surprised by, just because I know all the judges are, they critique everything. And so I was actually very, very surprised by that and very grateful. So yeah, I'm very happy about all of that.
Well, because you had the bow and arrow with the feet doing the handstand. You also had like an aerial hoop routine. You shot a flaming arrow from a bow with your feet. And that was Reba McEntire was a guest judge and gave you the golden buzzer during the judge cuts, which is like a huge like save right there. So people really believed in you. Were you getting your hopes up going like, I can win this whole thing?
Actually, no. I back then really, really just kept being like, I just want to make it to the next round. Every time the round would come, I'd be like, just let me make it to the next round. And
so you never thought about winning the whole thing. It was just, let's get to the next one.
I didn't until I made it to the finale. And then I was like, this could be a possibility actually. And that's actually the only time I thought potentially there could be a chance.
And did that screw you up?
No, not at all, actually. I honestly, in the finale, like obviously winning would be incredible. $1 million, crazy. But I really think back then I was just really happy to be there.
Yeah. But that's what I was like loving about watching your videos is that you do seem like this positive force that you just love. Like I love doing this. Like I'm just really happy talking to people and doing this show. It seems like you are the same way. And even in your video of the most recent, you know, you were like, it's not about winning or losing. Like it's about just like showing up for this experience. And I thought that was such a great message because I'm like, there is only got to be a handful of people that in this world that can even come close to doing what you do. You are the real embodiment of a superhero. And the fact that you get to, you know, use your imagination and all of these things, but you don't seem like a jerk. Maybe you are, but you just don't seem like a jerk. So it's like, I'm like, but where do we go from here? Like, what are the dreams for what you do since so many, like, who knows? Like you said, like the person you saw in Vegas, your hero, she doesn't do it anymore. Like, is a Vegas show your dream? I mean, you have this huge internet presence. Like, what are the dreams from this point on?
I personally would love a Vegas show. I do think that'd be great. Honestly, I really, really love performing. I mean, hence why I was just really happy to be there. And even in the fantasy league, I was super happy to be there, why I come on and guest perform. So honestly, performing all around the world, having my own show, whether Vegas or a traveling one or something like that. I also started releasing music. So maybe throw in a show.
Okay, wait. So you sing as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, what if we sang songs while you're shooting arrows, flaming arrows through your feet? You're also doing like an Adele type song. Like that difficulty level's got to be insane.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Well, so America's Got Talent really truly loves you because like the amount of times that they have brought you back over the seasons, like you went like 2019, America's Got Talent, the champions. You appeared in season 14, season 18, Fantasy League. Will you be appearing potentially on the 20th season of America's Got Talent at all? I know we're in early days, but any possibility?
Potentially. I might be in there somewhere.
I would really hope so. Are there any acts when you watch America's Got Talent? Are there any acts that like blow you away? Not even things that you do yourself, but like I was watching this the Mentalist Oz, who's been on America's Got Talent, and he blows me away. Mm-hmm. What are things that blow you away when you watch the show?
I love variety acts. Variety acts are my favorite. Like, I think they were on the year after me or 2 years or something, but Billy and Emily England, they're a skater duo. And I was actually so happy they were on my fantasy league.
Yeah.
Because I actually had watched them and been like, oh, I love these people. Like, I love watching all that stuff. And so it was such an honor to be able to be performing with them and competing with them. So, and now they're my friends.
Well, I mean, speaking of friends, in the video, you were like, Heidi Klum says she wants to hang out. Did you ever hang out with Heidi Klum?
I did. Actually, I went to her Halloween party as well.
What did you dress up as? Because Heidi is like the queen of Halloween. She dressed up as E.T. this year. She dressed up as a worm the year before. What did you dress up as?
So I had felt like I needed to be something that everyone would know, but would also be kind of funny. It's not way too serious. So I was a chicken that popped out of an egg. And I had one of my friends be Colonel Sanders.
So Heidi actually is very cool because she seems like she really loves you. So that's cool that you were able to. Yeah. Well, Simon obviously scary. Like, but Reba McEntire also said to be a huge fan of yours. Anything that she told you through the years?
I mean, we've talked a little bit, especially when we redid a performance together. It was literally this past year. When we redid a performance together, I thought it was so incredible. The fact that it was kind of a full circle moment where when we first met, she gave me a golden buzzer and that kind of changed my life. And it was such a crazy experience. And then now her and I were performing together. It was wild.
Well, I mean, speaking of collaborating, in the Fantasy League, you did a collaboration with Aiden Bryant. how does that work in terms of doing what you do, which you've specified so much for yourself, your own personal feats and strength and mental acuity? Then you have to add somebody else into it. How do you collaborate? Use Aiden for an example. How did that come about?
Well, America's Got Talent wanted it to be a big group of people to perform in the very end to The Greatest Showman, which is very Greatest Showman like. And me and Aiden, when we were practicing together, it was really fun to be super creative because I didn't want to do anything basic and basic and something that like almost anybody who were to do aerials could do. I want to do something that shocks the audience. And so it was really fun to work with Aiden and be creative, and honestly to work with somebody who can do a lot of like the stuff that I can do, because I do most of the stuff on my own. I rarely get the chance to try tricks with other cirque artists or variety act artists. So it was really fun for me and I really enjoyed it.
I just, because then you have to rely on somebody else and not just yourself.
Yes. That was really interesting too. So I was folded over my aerial hoop and I was holding him up for the thing. And it was really interesting because I had to rely on him to spin us in the very end, and he was spinning us super fast. And I kept telling you it's so much more different because I do my crazy fast spins and he does those crazy fast spins. So I was telling him it's so different when somebody else is doing it to you, and like I have to like think about, I can't just make sure I don't fall. I also have to make sure he doesn't fall because his life depends on me. And if I fall, both of us go down.
His life, what a thought to go. Like if I ever had that thought, I would not be able to contain myself. And yet you remain cool as a cucumber. Like nobody can teach that. That is just in you.
Well, you also have to calm yourself. So if you're stressing out beforehand, honestly, stress does nothing but potentially cause an accident. So if you go and watch my video, if you notice before my performance, I have to, because I have nerves and you kind of start shaking and you have nerves. Yeah. You got one time to perform and that's it. You mess up, that's it. It's on the internet forever. And so I actually
or you hurt yourself.
Or you hurt
not just the internet, you guys, or you can actually hurt yourself, Sofie. I got to remind you, yeah.
That is true. But if you watch the video, I have to actually calm myself down and almost pretend like there isn't an audience there. Like I'm doing this basically at my house, and I have to slow down my heartbeat because a lot of time my heartbeat likes going crazy. Yeah. And because the calmer you are, the easier it is to do hand balancing, especially hand balancing is so technical, and it's just you have to be calm.
Well, so when you're doing the actual live performance, and I will say in that video, you didn't get it on one of the times on the practice times. Like, and you're about to go live and do this, and you already have not done it once. And I just think there are so many opportunities for your mind to be unbalanced. But when you're up there, is there a certain image in your head? Like, because like right now I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm trying to think of the next question I'd like to ask you or what I haven't asked you. Yeah. What in your head, is there like a sound, is there a tropical island you're seeing? Like what can you explain what you actually see in here?
A lot of times, so with that one, with kind of things going wrong in rehearsal and not having time to re-practice it, what I had to do is really calm myself down and almost forget that even happened. Because if in my mind I were to constantly replay me missing and the arrow spinning out and stuff, it would do nothing but probably cause that to happen again. So what I did is I closed my eyes and I put on my music that I was performing to, and I sat there in my dressing room and imagined that over and over and over my whole entire routine. And then come showtime, everything went absolutely perfectly. But it's because...
Do you ever get like halfway through the performance and go, this is going perfectly, and then all of a sudden screw up because you've said this is going perfectly? Does that ever happen?
No, that doesn't happen. But I do remember after I did my ankle hang to my hand balancing hands, because that to me was...
Wait,
One,
say that again slower for the audience. What were you doing?
so on my aerial hoop that catches on fire, first of all, I was hoping it caught on fire because we had certain triggers to like light it on fire instead of something coming off on the side.
Sure.
So there's certain points in the routine I was like, this just needs to happen. This just needs to happen. And then so when the fire went off, I was like, thank God it went off. Okay, perfect. Okay, now after that, like I do my tricks in there, just don't catch on fire. Okay, now come down to my ankles. And this ankle hang move is very tricky because it's so technical when the aerial hoop comes down, because any jerking or anything, so it's kind of also on the guy controlling the aerial hoop as well, which he was
Wait, how do you
absolutely,
do that when you have to like then work? Like we see that in some video
yeah,
of like too you working with other people. You've also
yeah.
got to trust those technical people behind the scenes.
It is really scary to trust people, but yeah, America's Got Talent has honestly
The best.
the best. So, and we did a lot of rehearsals with him, and he was really, really great. And it's really great because, you know, if he would have messed something up, it would have messed me up to where I would have fallen down on my canes, and that would have been absolutely
Because you can't.
terrible.
It's really hard to improvise in those moments when everything's so technical, right?
Yeah, especially in that specific part, it's on him not to jerk the hoop. And so, but he did incredible, and he's an incredible.
What are your parents thinking when they're watching this being filmed? Like at this point, they've accepted that you're just going to put yourself in harm's way again and again. Does it get any easier for them? Like does it, or did they go through the same fears every time you're up there?
All I know is my dad, after my performance, was saying, "I think your mom gave me a bruise from gripping me so hard."
Oh my
I
gosh,
think
that's so
my
crazy.
mom freaks out a little bit more than my dad, because my dad helps me with all my props and everything.
Yeah.
And my mom's amazing too. She helps me with like all costuming, things like that, like ideas for that stuff. But she doesn't help me with the like stunt stuff. So a lot of time when she's watching the performance, it really stresses her out.
Yeah, I would imagine. Like, listen, I could barely play piano at like 14 or 15 years old, and like you're out there like lighting things. Wait, when did? Sorry, I'm just so geeking out about you. When did you start introducing fire to your like? How old were you when you're like, okay, I can put my legs over my head and this? Like when you're like, hey, let's introduce fire. What age were you when that started happening?
I think it was actually on America's Got Talent. The first time I actually ever did fire was the fire bow and arrow on America's Got Talent when I was 14.
That was the first time.
Well, I did it 3 times in my backyard.
Just
And
three
now
times.
looking back, we had a lot of trees and stuff. We soaked it with water, but I think it was safe.
Jeez.
But,
Oh, jeez.
but yeah, we did it 3 times in my backyard. Love my neighbors. They're great. They don't
Your
care.
poor neighbor. Your neighbors are like, Sophie's at it again. She's out there rehearsing.
I mean, I used to shoot bow and arrows in my front yard, and I would see my neighbors just walk by, and they wouldn't look at me. And I remember thinking, that's weird. If somebody was doing that in their front yard, I'd come by and like hang out and watch. But I don't know, maybe they're trying to avoid eye contact or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you have a bow and arrow in your hand as well. That's probably
They're
pretty
like,
scary.
or not
Nikki.
on my feet.
Nikki Glazer just hosted the Golden Globes, and I was listening to her. She said, I rehearsed 92 times. I was going to all these different comedy clubs, working on my act. For you, how many times, you said you did 3 times with fire before you did America's Got Talent? Like at this
Yeah.
point, how many times will you run through an act? And follow-up question to that. I know today you're probably doing press and stuff, but like what does a normal day look for you in terms of training?
Yeah, well, when I'm training for a specific performance coming up, it always is a bit more intense than my regular day-to-day stuff. How I train if I have a performance coming up is I wake up at like 7 or 8 o'clock and head straight to my warehouse that has all my equipment, and
So you have like a bat cave of all of your toys and your training facility.
a
Okay,
bunch
awesome.
of toys there. I love it.
And is that where you dream as well? Is that where you'll put on that music and kind of like
Yeah.
imagine?
I'll mainly do it there. I like to do it near my equipment in case I have one of the ideas and I want to try it. And but I'll go over there and I'll train for minimum 3 hours. It's 3 to 5 hours, I would say. Once in a while, I'll be there longer. When I was training for America's Got Talent Fantasy League, I was there quite literally all day until I'd wake up, get there around 8 or 9 o'clock, and then I think I'd be there till honestly about 7 or 8 o'clock. And then I would do an ice bath and then go home.
Wow. Jeez.
But that's because America's Got Talent Fantasy League, also a lot of my tricks are a lot harder than they were when I was 14. And a lot of the tricks I was doing for Fantasy League were brand new tricks that I was first learning. And I was like, I want this to be on the show, which one of them was my Wheel of Death, or we called it the Wheel of Death because actually,
yeah, they show it in the video. The Wheel of Death is insane. So that was like you imagined the Wheel of Death.
I had 2 weeks to learn it.
Wait, explain to the people what the Wheel of Death was again, if they haven't seen it.
So the Wheel of Death is this 15-foot wheel with a bunch of hand balancing blocks all over it, and it spins. So, and I'm supposed to be at the very top, and when it spins, I hop to each block. So it'll spin, and I'm like hopping. And so when I was doing this, by the time it was made, I had about 2 weeks to learn it. But the Wheel of Death had some technical issues just because it was just freshly made and we needed to fix some different things. Like the motor wasn't running because it runs on a motor. That's how it spins. And it was glitching and going back and forth. And I was like, if I'm up there, I'm going to fly off. And it was a lot. So in total, I think I actually had 5 days, hence why I was literally training for like 12 hours a day. And then I would do an ice bath.
But for only 5 days?
No, for a week I was still training for 12 hours a day, but I was trying to do the hops on the ground instead of 15 feet in the air.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's like the stuff that blows me away because I'm like, she's probably been working on that for years. And like, you're like, no, we're building it up until the last minute. That's so wild. It's just, are you, I mean, you have to like stay in shape, obviously. Like, do you ever get to a point where you're like, I'm real rusty right now? Like, or do you stay just ready to go?
I stay pretty ready to go, mainly because I do love doing what I do. So I love doing contortion and all that stuff. So that stuff's fun to me. And if I haven't done it in a while, as in like, say, a week or something, it feels weird. And most of the time that only happens when I'm busy and I'm filming a lot for different things. But for the most part, I do it very, very often, every day to every other day.
I was watching this documentary about Simone Biles, the Olympian, and, there was like something that like she got thrown off of and then she was going back in there because she was trying to get over the fear. Has there ever been something like that, a mental block on a certain trick or contortion or move for you where you've had to work through that yet in your career?
Yeah, I would say actually, I did it for this guest performance that I just did this past year. I had 20-foot tall canes, and
fire.
Wait, it was the guest performance that I just did.
Okay,
but there were 20-foot tall canes, and I had to kind of go through a mental block of, okay, you have to pretend it's on the ground, because just kicking up into a handstand was, because looking down at the ground versus looking like being 3 feet off the ground versus being 20 feet is so different. And in my head, I was thinking, if I fall, I don't know what to do. Just gotta, and then right before that trick too, I was spinning on my aerial hoop really fast. So I was mildly dizzy. I've kind of taught myself how to not get dizzy, but to an extent, you still are a little bit disoriented. So going from spinning really fast on my aerial hoop to climbing 20 feet to do a handstand 20 feet in the air was, that was a bit of a mental block. I had to, it took about like, I would say 3 days of like really sitting there before I went up and did a handstand on there or did a full handstand. Just because I had to stand up there. Well, got rid of that block is I would stand up there and I would stand up like on my canes and I would just be on my phone or be talking to friends while up there. And then that way in my mind, I kind of get
It was
used
just
to,
normal.
yeah. So I'm like, I need to pretend this height is normal. It's not that big of a deal. Because once you get that out of your mind of this height's not a big deal, you'll be fine.
We should have done this interview with you on the canes just to make sure, like, so you can just get used to that kind of. Well,
Yeah.
have you ever been, or even just in training, have you ever suffered an injury so far?
Actually, I just came out with a YouTube video about an injury I did have.
What happened?
Though it wasn't my fault. I was actually doing, which is actually funny because that's what I feel like most people say they get injured from when it's not their fault. But I was actually trying to do a stunt fight scene, and you can go check it out on my YouTube channel. The whole video is there. But I was trying to do a fight scene being Black Cat from the Spider-Man universe and
Yep.
fighting Silk. And we were trying to make a whole fight scene, make it kind of look like it came from Marvel itself. And in the process of doing so, because we were running out of time, words just got misunderstood because everyone was hurrying so much. So in one scene, there was a crate that was supposed to come at me from behind me, and I was supposed to throw myself over. And I don't see the crate coming at me because I'm facing forward.
Yeah.
And the guy that was pulling it just misunderstood because somebody said faster, but they meant faster with something else. And because of that, he chucked it at me, and I flipped upside down and landed directly on my neck.
Oh.
And yeah, that was really bad. I was actually couldn't do contortion for about like a month, mainly because it just hurt so bad. And my chin hit my chest. I had a bruise on my chest instantly. And yeah, that was probably the worst injury ever. But I actually kind of said this, or I said this in my YouTube video. All my contortion and my performances and everything, it genuinely makes me very happy to do. Hence why I was even saying, like, I'm just honestly really happy to be there because I love doing this type of stuff.
So it didn't like take you out of the game. You were like, I can't wait to heal to get back out there.
At the time, it was so bad and the pain was so bad, though. I was stressing out and having a mental breakdown about it because I was like, oh my God, if I can't do contortion anymore, this is what makes me happy in life. This is what I love to do. And this was taken, it was not even my fault. Because if it's like my fault and I fell from 20 feet in the air or whatever, it's like, okay, I did it to myself. But it was, I think, the fact that it wasn't me that did it. I was beating myself up about it. And so, but I ended up healing and I'm all good. I can do contortion. This was also back last summer. But yeah, that was the only actually that. And then I think when I did the Wheel of Death, I bruised my hand pretty bad, but I was able to push through it. So it wasn't as bad as that one.
Gee, I like tear a nail and I start crying. This is really but by the way, when you said that though, I'm like, why don't we get you in the Marvel universe? Like, is that something like you do all of that? Like, I mean, are you down to start acting as well? Because like I was watching one of the Spider-Man like audition tapes of like Tom Holland learning a routine.
And he did like a flip in the beginning. I watched that.
Yeah, like is that? I mean, that's something that you could do as well. Like, are you out there auditioning for parts as well?
I haven't gotten to do actually too many auditions yet. I do want to get in. Do want to get an agent to start doing that though, because I would love to get into the stunt world or even acting world more because I love that type of stuff.
Well, and you've built up this. I want to put it. You've built up this massive social media audience. So I think, I can't believe people aren't knocking down your doors to represent you because you already have this huge fan base that want to see you succeed and want to see you in new things. So I'm like, the world is your oyster right now. I have a little bit more time with you, but I was just thinking about this because, you're not scared of the things that would really put the fear of death into all of us. What are you scared of? Like, are you scared of spiders? Like, what are the things that you can't handle? Because you can handle pretty much anything that we can't handle.
I was trying to think about this the other day. I genuinely don't know.
There's
Like,
no, they're like, you're not like scary films you're good with. Like there's nothing that
I
scares you.
mean, if you're filming a or like if you're filming a scary film, it's probably not scary. And then scary films, I I do like horror films. They're fun to watch. But also when I watch horror films, I always think more of like how they shot it than
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
actually.
You're reverse engineering like you do in your actual tricks.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I actually don't know. I would love to test that though.
are you bad at anything? Like, are you a bad driver? Are you a bad cook? Like, what are you bad at?
I'm well, I've also never really actually spent time on it, but I can't juggle.
Haha, loser. What a loser. Sophie can't juggle. Can you believe it? I bet you, by the way, I bet if you picked up juggling, I bet you could pick it up by tonight if you actually tried.
I've only tried it like once or twice, and I think I just don't really have a passion for it. So I just was like, okay, I just can't juggle.
We talk about pop culture on this show a lot. What do you like? You said you like to listen to intense music when you're dreaming of your stunts and your tricks and things of that nature. What do you like to listen to for fun? Like, what do you like to listen to? What do you like to watch on TV? What are your favorite films?
I like all music, honestly. Probably mostly pop or alt pop is the type of music I normally listen to. I do like classical music a lot. I
Like,
do
you
like
got a favorite, like Tchaikovsky? Who do you like?
yeah, Tchaikovsky, Beethoven. Yeah, I normally put on my Spotify classical bangers.
It's classical bangers.
All throughout my house. So
And do you watch TV? Do you watch reality TV? What do you focus on?
I don't watch too much reality TV. I think the reality TV that I watch is America's Got Talent every time it comes up every year. And I guess TV show wise, I've been really into this Squid Game this year.
Did you watch the second season?
I did, and I can't wait for the third season. They need to drop it now.
They've already, well, so the good news, they've already filmed it. So it's supposed to be like released this summer or the fall, but it ends so intensely. And I was like, no, I watched it in like a day and a half.
You want to see it now? Like you couldn't just end it on the actual ending.
I know it sucked so bad, but I loved it so much. I liked the second season. People were like, I don't like it's good. And it's going to make the third season even that much better.
Yeah. The only thing that I was annoyed about is when the timer was going down and they were cheering on the rainbow game and they were cheering after each game. I was like, oh my God, the timer's going down. Go.
I know. They were like, yeah, they would cheer. And I'd be like, no, you're going to die. By the way, you'd kill it on Squid Game. And they have a Squid Game reality show on Netflix. You would kill it.
Hey, hire me on there.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I was thinking about is you have done things that most adults will never be able to do in your life. Do you still have do you have a good group of friends? Are you able to do like normal stuff? Like,
yeah, I have a really great group of friends. And I love them so much. They actually all live like an hour away from me. But I love them. I've had them since they're all like 8-year, 9-year friendships, and I'm definitely gonna have them for life.
do they, when you're around, do they always make you do tricks?
No, a lot of times they forget actually. Now they're very numb to it. Like I feel like everybody who's friends with me, everyone's very numb to it, or some of them forget I even do it. Because most of the time when I'm hanging out with my friends, it's not like, I'm going into a back bend and, running around. So a lot of times they forget. And I invited them to actually my fantasy league performance, and they were all like, I forgot you did this.
Yeah. I would be freaked out. Or like, my friend can do this? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh,
But they're pretty numb to it now. Kind of like how
numb
my family's very numb to it.
Which, by the way, that's why the YouTube's great, because her family will be in the YouTube videos, and it cracks me up. And that's what I was like. I kind of found the YouTube, and I'm like trying to work my way through the videos now. How often do you post on YouTube? Because, like I said, this is like your own TV network. Like you have a TV show. Like that's why I think you are destined for an actual network TV show of some sort. Because
I would love to.
the YouTube channel shows that you can do this.
I would love to do some type of. I would love to be hired on a network and do some type of fear factor for people, and I would join them with them. Like,
guys, this is the show. Dude,
That'd be
Sophie's Fear Factor. Like, this is it.
Great.
Okay. So, 2025, we just started the new year. Are you somebody that makes goals for the new year? And if so, what are those goals? It can be anything. Are you somebody that kind of like takes stock of 2024? What can I do better? Are you that type of person at all?
Yeah, I like to figure out what I can do better that I could have done better the year before. And so I have a lot of like little goals when it comes to that. Other things, I'm starting a podcast.
Oh, competitor here. We got a competitor. Well, I cannot lift my leg anywhere, so you're already better. When are you starting the podcast?
I don't know the exact release date yet,
but have you already started recording? Is it already?
Yes.
Are you allowed to tease the title of it?
It's called Kiss and Tell.
Wait. What is this about? You and like dating?
Well, I've had it actually for a while. So this is actually a podcast I had for a while, and then I'm just going to relaunch it.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, you got to let us know when you relaunch it so I can tell everybody to go like download and give it 5 stars and all that stuff. That's awesome.
I'll let everybody know on my Instagram, so you can follow my Instagram to see the exact date it's going to drop.
Wow. Okay, so you've amassed this huge fan base. What are I mean, you have fans now. Like, is it pretty wild? Like, have you, like you said, you were inspired by that lady you went to see in Vegas. Have you had kids come up to you saying, I want to be like you? And how does that make you feel?
Actually, yeah, I've gotten a ton of that, and that is amazing to me because when I first started, I was, a huge fan of a lot of cirque performers and artists, and I think for little kids to come up to me and say that, it's so special, and I'm very happy I can be that role model for them. And actually, because of that too, I started teaching contortion classes online, flexibility and contortion. So flexibility, so for like, say if you want to learn how to do the splits or say a back bend or something like that.
I think it's over for me, Sophie, but other people might want to learn how to do the splits.
You probably would be able to if you were just dedicated with it.
Jeez. Okay, so you teach these online?
Yeah, I teach these online, and then I also have class for contortion for the slightly more flexible than a normal person classes. And
wow.
Yeah, you can sign up.
Okay, you guys, I'm going to put all that information in the show notes. And then since the 20th season is about to get going here, what is your advice for people out there wanting to share their talents from like the completely skilled to the funny to the variety? What are your words of advice?
I would say just go for it. And if you love it, honestly, nothing can go wrong because it's the same way how I just went on because I just love doing it. And if you love doing it, you can't get disappointed.
Yeah, it's all about loving what you do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm way older than you, and you are hell of inspiring to me. So I'm going to learn how to do the splits in 2025. I just decided that right now. But I want you guys to go follow her on Instagram, go subscribe to that YouTube. Man, I'm rooting for you, man. I think you are going to be gigantic, and I just can't wait to see where you land because it seems like you can do everything. But you guys, America's Got Talent. Make sure you follow this next season coming up. It is an excellent show on NBC. You are well aware, 20 seasons in, and I'm sure Sophie will pop back up at some point as well. So, Sofie Dossi, I hope I get to talk to you again at some point. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.